Jonathan Quick becomes one of the all-time greatest in NHL history in net, and the LA Kings celebrated it by getting their asses kicked last night. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for Los Angeles. Welcome to Faithful Angelinos. It's March 2nd. We're going to talk about what's going on out in LA, but if you like the content we've been producing so far, quickly clack the like button, quickly clack the subscribe button. Notification, there's a bell down there to let you know when we come up with a new video. We do come up with a new video at 9 a.m. Pacific Toast Time, hopefully every single day and every single day at that time. Sharing is caring. Feel free to let people know what's going on out there with this group, and also comment. Let me know if you don't agree, or if you agree. I'm not God. I don't know everything. So what can I tell you from the dreary plains of Des Moines, Iowa, aside from my crushing unhappiness? Well, we'll get to Jonathan Quick in a moment, because I think the key of this, even though the fact that the LA Kings lost last night to the Bruins 7-0, we are witnessing one of the all-time greatest at his craft. And I don't think he's getting enough credit. And that's why, even though the Kings lost 7-0 last night, we're going to talk about Jonathan Quick and what's made him so great. Other things that have been going on in LA. Last night, the UCLA Bruins defeated Washington 77-66. That is their final tune-up before facing crosstown rival USC on Saturday. Tonight. What you can watch, the Clippers are in Houston. On TNT, you can watch the Dallas Mavericks coming in to play the Lakers at 7 p.m., but considering the way they've been playing, why would you? The best basketball game in town tonight, it's going on at the Galen Center. Number 2, Arizona takes on number 16, USC at 8 p.m. That's a game you can catch on ESPN. Now let's get caught up on the other notes that are going around in LA. I can tell you with the Lakers, DeAndre Jordan is going out, and a backup point guard, DJ Augustine, is coming in. I guess the Lakers are going small ball. Either that or Augustine is a little bit quicker bailing water out of that sinking ship. Good God, did you see that game on Sunday? Well, going back to UCLA and USC, I can tell you that 5 players from both the Bruins and the Trojans were invited to the NFL Combine, which begins today, where athletes from across this great land of ours decide to impress the NFL by running laps and jumping really high. Of the 5 USC players invited, the headliner of that group is wide receiver Drake London, projected first rounder. However, he did break his ankle, so they need to see if it's healed. For UCLA, I would say the cream of that crop is left tackle Sean Ryan. He is considered to be quote-unquote NFL ready, athletic, and well-rounded. Consider Colton Miller, another UCLA grad who went over. He currently plays for the Raiders. Worldwide news. Keep in mind, we have a couple of people over in Ukraine. Former Kings winger Dmitry Kristich. He is on the ground there. He is armed up and fighting for freedom. When he played in the NHL, he scored 259 times, and that includes 46 goals in 2 years with the LA Kings. So he could play. He was play a little. He was pretty good. Also, former LA Galaxy player Dima Kovalenko. He's huddling with his family in Kyiv. These are the folks we used to cheer. Send them a well wish, a prayer, that sort of thing. They're probably going to need it. Back to the NFL. What can I tell you? We've been talking a lot lately about Von Miller and how I think he's going to be a premium player on the free agent market. Sources have been telling national reporters that they believe he can get something similar to what J.J. Watt got last year from Arizona, which was a 2-year, $28 million deal. Is it doable for the Rams? Probably. But for the Chargers, that's pocket change in terms of the salary cap. So there's going to be a fight for this guy's services. By the way, Major League Baseball is still talking with its players union regarding a lockout. There is apparently a 5 p.m. West Coast time deadline today, trying to make sure that if they don't make the deadline MLB will start canceling regular season games. They may push it back, they may reach a deal, they may cancel. We just don't know. So let's talk some hockey. Jonathan Quick, 350 wins. He is 24th on the all-time list. To me, this is something equivalent to being somebody who gets 3,000 hits in Major League Baseball, 300 wins in Major League Baseball. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not going to catch the number one goalie of all time in terms of wins. That's Marty Brodeur. He has 691. Patrick Waugh, 551. But this is a terrific effort from a guy that was considered an afterthought when he was drafted. So how did this guy do it? He basically had to go against the grain and be a complete revolutionary, which makes it doubly fascinating to talk about this guy. And unfortunately, we have to do the talking because he hates talking. The NHL beat writers will tell you he's pretty bad at interviews. He doesn't like to do it. He gives those 1-2 word answers that make you think, good God, dude, why are you Bill Belichick in a hockey mask? I mean, it's pretty bad. But on the ice, he's fantastic. Now, I don't want to wax poetic. I just want to give you the facts and the data. I mean, a lot of sports writers, they love to wax poetic. They love to go the Bob Costas route. Me, I don't wax poetic. There's only so many words you could use to rhyme with jugs, okay? I'm terrible at that stuff, but I will get to how he did it. Because if you ever watch a Kings game, he plays goaltender completely different from virtually everybody else in the game. See, a traditional goalie, what they do is they tend to go with one of three styles. They tend to do a stand-up kind of goaltending where they just kind of react to everything, or they go to the butterfly using their four limbs to cut off all four corners, or they go with the hybrid. Jonathan Quick utilized something called reverse vertical horizontal. And if you're as confused as that as I am, I'm going to try to break it down for you. See, the Kings, what they did back when he was a youngster in net, he was supposed to be the afterthought. Their goalie of the future, the Kings thought, was going to be a guy named Jonathan Bernier. Bernier was taller. Bernier was more traditional. You know, he didn't do this reverse vertical horizontal. He didn't have to. He was over 6 feet tall. He cut off a lot of the net simply through genetics. And on top of that, Bernier was the 11th overall pick in 2016. So what does Jonathan Quick go out and do? Well, he recognized that the NHL made the net shallower, okay, not as far back to the wall behind the net. They were shallower. As a consequence of that, it became quicker for offensive players to do wraparounds, skate behind the net, try to stuff it in, or from behind the net, try to shoot a pass out in front of the net to one of their teammates to make the shot. So what Jonathan Quick did was he decided to maximize that. Can you do that? I couldn't. Not even with gender reassignment surgery, I couldn't do that. What does this mean, aside from the fact that he could stand in for Jean-Claude Van Damme doing that kitchen counter bullshit? Well, I'll tell you what he can do with that. He takes away the entire lower half of the net. This is reverse vertical horizontal. What he would do is he would take one of the skates and plant it inside of one of the goal posts. And when those passes would go behind the net, what he would do is he would push off of that, slide to the other side, and he would continually go back and forth. You would see him sliding on his pads. You wouldn't see him just shoot to the side. You would see him slide across back and forth on his pads. And what he did in response is this was a challenge that he was making. What he was basically saying to the other people is, you're going to have to beat me by shooting at the upper half of the net, and I'm going to be quick enough to stop you. Pardon the shitty pun. He had the entire lower half of the net sealed. But you have to be athletic in order to do that. Former NHL goalie Corey Hirsch said, if you try to get further away from the net as a goalie, like say even as little as 3 feet, you've exposed a massive amount of the net for the other people to shoot at. So he had to be swift. I am trying to avoid using his last name. It breaks the cardinal rules of goaltending. There's a lot of goaltenders out there who they admire what he's done, but they know he's broken every single rule. In goaltending, the cardinal rule is to react to what the offensive player is doing. You're not supposed to make the first move. The proper approach there is technically considered to be upright or in butterfly, and that way you can be mobile. Jonathan Quick did a hybrid. He was mobile, but he was also aggressive. It's impressive. You have to admire people who look at their craft from an entirely different mindset and rebuild from the ground up. So, what eventually happened? Well, you can only be in the splits for so long before you get hurt. So, he did. And he was ineffective for about 3 years. So much like a pitcher in Major League Baseball, where you lose your fastball and you have to learn guile and wisdom, so did Jonathan Quick. He still does reverse vertical horizontal, but he no longer breaks that 3-foot rule that we were talking about earlier, because when he was young, he was athletic enough to get back and make the stop. Jonathan Quick now plays deeper in his net. And so as a result, he's now relying on his quickness in terms of his upper body strength, in terms of his upper appendages to stop the puck from going in. So he doesn't challenge you as much as he used to, but he's still getting the wins, except for last night. You need to watch this guy if you're a hockey fan, even if you don't like the LA Kings, because he's literally, I cannot stress this enough, he is literally one of the all-time greats. And instead of following conventional wisdom, Jonathan Quick was a trailblazer. You're not going to see a lot of goalies doing reverse vertical horizontal. Appreciate this while you can. He's 35. So, glad you stuck in with me for this shift. I know that hockey isn't as popular as some of the other sports, but this one actually is important. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to this show. Don't forget to like it and share it, because we will talk about sports that other people don't talk about. If it's LA, we're going to talk about it. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm James. Faithful Angelinos is a Quien Corta El Queso production. Have a good day. Bye-bye.